Hi guys, welcome back to my channel where today I'm going to be doing the Beauty Consumerism Tag. This was created by 90s Love Child and I will link them down below. And I saw the video from Mel Thompson. I will also link Mel's video down below in the description box. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. I love to play with colorful eyeshadow. I did film this look and I will link that down below as well. But I upload about 3 videos a week, all eyeshadow related content. If you would like to see more, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing. So today's tag, again, is called the Beauty Consumerism Tag, and it's just all kinds of various questions about what do you spend on makeup, how do you use your makeup, are there things you keep but don't use, do you buy limited edition, things like that. I'm going to write down all the questions in the description box if you want to do the tag yourself or are simply curious or miss something. I don't know. If you want, I can do timestamps as well. But without any more preamble, let's get going because I think that this is kind of an interesting subject. The first question is, how much do you spend on makeup a month or a year? So I have been on a low or no buy for quite a while. My husband and I implemented a new budget about a year ago. Something like that, maybe a little bit more. And we're just working to pay down debt, maybe save for a house in the next couple of years. So our budget is pretty tight and doesn't really allow for a lot of eyeshadow or makeup purchases, especially because my husband he's not really on board. I mean, he thinks it's kind of a waste of money and doesn't really see the purpose. Whereas for me, eyeshadow especially, a creative expression. I am a very creative person. I love color. I paint. I have a small art business. So for me, the side of makeup that really intrigues me is using my face as a canvas. And he doesn't really understand that. He's very much more of a black and white kind of person. So he struggles understanding why I have any interest in this. And so I try to budget my finances where I can and make wise purchases that will round out my collection in a way that suits me quite well. So how much I spend a month or a year is hard to guesstimate because I haven't really bought much lately. I would say in the last 6 months, I might have spent around $50 total. And I'm talking like run to Walmart and get a setting spray, a mascara, or a little concealer thing that I use, combined with using Poshmark or Mercari, where I sell older palettes that I don't use, and then I use those balances to buy something that I am interested in. But again, it's all secondhand, it's all discount. I might get a palette for $8, and then it's just $8 plus shipping. So I have a few new palettes that have come into my collection within those 6 months, but I didn't buy them at full price. So maybe $50 or $60 or so in the last 6 months. And then in a whole year, it's hard to say. The first year I did eyeshadow, I spent more because we weren't on a budget, we weren't paying attention to our finances, and I was buying lots of ColourPop stuff. And I don't know how much I spent then. I do know that was too much and it was a little bit foolish. This year I've done much, much better. And again, over time I've curated my collection. So question number 2, do you ever feel guilty about how much you spend on makeup? I think I have felt guilty a couple of times if I spent more than I should have, especially in the early year, like the first year when I was buying a lot of ColourPop, and I ended up spending more than I should have, buying palettes that I shouldn't have. That would make me feel guilty, particularly when I looked at our finances and went, oh, I could have spent that money to pay down a bill, or could have spent that money towards groceries or something like that. So I think I have felt guilty at some point because of more reckless consumerism. But I don't think lately, because lately, again, the money is coming out of balances within the secondhand apps. The money's not coming out of my bank account. So that money, I kind of feel like, well, that's mine to use. I initially used it to buy an eyeshadow palette. Then I sold the eyeshadow palette and the money's sitting in the balance. So I don't mind using it to buy a different eyeshadow palette if it's not touching the bank account. Question 3 says, do you get FOMO related to makeup releases? I actually had to look up what FOMO was. Yeah, I'm a dork. Fear of missing out. In case you didn't know, it's fear of missing out. Do you get fear of missing out related to makeup releases? And definitely yes. Yes, that's an easy yes. I absolutely do. There is certainly a huge quantity of products being released, people talking about the products, new videos coming out about the products. This is how great it is. Look at what I can do with it. Go and buy it yourself. There's a lot of that in the industry itself. And because I am on a budget, which you'll hear a few times in this video, there is certainly the fear of missing out, like, oh, but I really want that thing and I can't have that thing. And so I get a little bummed. But then I have to counter that with, hey, you know what? I have a lot of really beautiful things. Why don't I use what I have to try to recreate a look that I found especially inspiring, or to try to dupe the palette? Like, maybe I already have all those colors just spread out across 6 palettes, and I don't necessarily need them in one compact palette. So there's certainly a fear of missing out, but I try to talk myself down a bit and go, okay, look at this more practically, more realistically. You don't really need that thing. Question 4 says, do you purchase or keep items simply because they are limited edition? The answer is no, definitely not. I don't have much interest in limited edition items. I generally think that they are overpriced, and I'm not really trendy or on board with a lot of things that are trendy or even a lot of more cultural references. So even when a brand releases something that's related to a particular franchise, I generally don't feel any tie to that. When I buy makeup, I want it to be a little bit more of a refined experience. I don't necessarily want to have some sort of themed packaging that honestly might end up looking kind of tacky within, you know, that theme, but within the makeup world. I don't know. I personally don't have any interest in buying products simply because they're limited edition. And if I had something that was limited edition, I don't think I'd keep it because of that. I think I would be more inclined to sell it, specifically if I didn't use it, because it would probably be easier to sell being that it's limited edition. So I would view that as a positive in terms of resale. Question number 5 confuses me slightly. I think it's phrased a little bit weird. It says, would you be willing to pay more money for a sold out product online? And I'm not sure if there's a misplaced modifier, like would you be willing to pay more money online for a sold out product, you know, in a retail space? So I'm not quite sure exactly what is meant by that phrasing. I am not really interested in paying more for a product ever. Again, on a budget, but aside from that, I also grew up very frugally. And so I'm always kind of on the lookout for a deal. Like, this is a good product. I don't need it. And so I'm okay. I have no problem waiting for a while to get a better deal. So no, I think the answer, regardless of the phrasing, would probably be no for that question. Especially because a lot of people do buy it when it's new and then they find that they don't use it or they don't like it or they grow tired of it. And then later on, they're much more willing to sell it secondhand for a better price. And that's where I swoop in. Question 6 says, do you wish you could spend more or less? I mean, I guess I would have to say, I wish I could spend more. However, I think that there's a benefit to not buying all the stuff because I'm forced to use what I have and I really discover some jewels within my collection. I also discover what never gets used and that I quickly pass along. But I think that there's some advantage to not having everything because you look at people who do have a lot and they generally tend towards feeling overwhelmed and never using everything. And a lot of times you see, well, I have to review the newest thing and I'm not using my old favorites. And I've seen that a lot lately too. So, I mean, theoretically in my headspace, yes, I wish I could spend more, but it's probably good for me that I can't. Number 7, do you feel compelled to buy something when you see that it's in someone else's collection? Yes, of course. Again, because you're seeing people use a product and if they have a good skill set, they're going to do a great job and it's going to look beautiful. And I have actually, I would say my first year, I definitely bought more than I should have, spent more money than I should have, bought a lot of ColourPop. And the reason for that was that I was watching videos by Judy, and Judy loves ColourPop, and she would, use these palettes and come up with a beautiful look, and I loved her blending, and I loved her style, and I would go buy those palettes. But I didn't have the skill level. And something that I learned later on, Judy and I have very different coloring, so what looked good on her didn't look the same on me. And now that I've learned that, I found it to be a bit more freeing because yes, I might love what I see someone else using, but I have to consider our different skin tones. I have skin tones that are very similar to Amanda from Makeup Just for Fun. And so I know that what looks good on her is probably going to look good on me as well. Whereas Angelica Nyqvist, she has these warm golden undertones, totally different from mine. So what looks good on her may not look as good on me. And that's something I have to consider. It's actually really, really helpful to know what your undertones are and to know what the undertones of the creator that you're watching are so that you know, okay, that's beautiful on that person with that set of colors. Might not work as well on me, and you have to look at it critically in that lens. But I definitely have been compelled, or at least really, really wanted to buy something because I saw it in someone else's collection, working beautifully for them, and then I've often brought it into my own and been like, oh, huh. Or because, you find that you liked that one look they did, but then you don't use the palette for anything else, and so it wasn't really a good addition. Question 8. Do you buy more during the holidays? I tend to do most of my retail purchases within this makeup world with Black Friday sales. Last year, I think I bought 11 palettes on Black Friday, and I got great deals on all of them. But that was my Christmas gift. It was an eyeshadow Christmas. My husband's like, here, this is how much money we'll spend on each other, and get what you can with that money. And so yeah, I did. I bought a bunch of palettes and I enjoyed all of them, but I really overwhelmed myself by bringing in that much at one time. So yeah, I would say I do shop more during the holidays, or maybe slightly pre-holidays with Black Friday sales. Number 9, this one did hurt a little bit. Have you ever hidden a makeup purchase from family or friends? To be totally honest, yes, I have. Maybe in the first year when I had several ColourPop boxes coming in, I mean, I was to the point where I would be on their site making a new order while I had boxes that were incoming to my home. And that just got to be outrageous. Like, that's too much. And that's the sort of purchasing that I regret, where like, I haven't even enjoyed what I ordered. Why am I ordering more? This is craziness. So those things, I think I did hide a couple boxes because I was embarrassed about them. More recently in the second year, I might have hidden a box or two. And it's not that I feel guilty about spending the money, because again, the money is coming from the app where I have sold a palette and I just use that money to rebuy something else. But I think it's more my husband just not really caring for eyeshadow or makeup at all. And so I feel a little bit like I just don't want to see his eye roll if, oh, he actually got another eyeshadow palette, you know. I think that's probably what it is. It's not, in this case, it's no longer shame for having spent money I know I shouldn't have spent. It's more just the experience of bringing in something that no one in my life really understands. And so I just don't really want to deal with their comments. Question number 10, do you have more than 10 products in your collection that you've not used in over a month? I would say no. The products in my collection are eyeshadow palettes, and then I have a box of all the other things. Lip glosses, eyeliners, mascara, blush. Like, I have one box that houses everything else because I have like one of everything else except for eyeliner and lip gloss. I have a small container of each of those. So if we're talking about one category, eyeliner, for example, yeah, there might be an eyeliner within my collection of 15 which hasn't been used in a month. You know, maybe I haven't used the brown eyeliner in a month. But if we're talking about the entire makeup collection, then no, there's definitely not 10 products that I haven't used in over a month. Within my eyeshadow palettes themselves, I try to regularly go through my collection and say, oh, I haven't used that one in a while, and pull it out and specifically use it because I want all of my items to get used. What's the point of having them if they don't get used, right? So yeah, I would have to say that's a no on that question. Question number 11 says, have you ever been pressured to purchase something you could not afford or did not need? Again, absolutely. I think this might tie into the compelled to buy something that's in someone else's collection question. Yes, of course I've been pressured to buy something I couldn't afford or didn't need. Usually at this point, I'm pretty good at talking myself down. If it's not in the budget, it's like, no, you can't have that. And as far as something I don't need, it is really helpful to try to isolate the shades from the packaging and say, do I have this shade, or even, 50% of those shades represented elsewhere within my collection already? For example, I was so close to buying the Hudson Valley palette from Nomad, which is their newest launch. But when I looked at like 6 of the shades within that palette, I was like, I think I have a lot of those shades within my Limoncello palette from ColourPop. And then a couple of the other shades I can either recreate or get close enough. Really don't think I need to spend the money on this palette. And so that sort of thing, trying to isolate it from the packaging, because packaging is a huge deal. If you can package something well, people are going to want to buy it, even if all of the shades already exist in their collection. They're going to want it because it looks different and pretty and appealing in that packaging. So if I can isolate the packaging or the shades from the packaging and say, do I have this color? Yes, I have this color. Yes, I have this color. Yes, I have this color. Okay, I don't need this item. Or I realistically wouldn't use this item. Maybe I love a palette, but it's got a lot of really dark blues and purples. I just know with my own taste, I'm not going to use, those 2 columns of dark blues and purples. So it doesn't make sense to spend the money on something where I won't use a third of it. Our penultimate question, do you purchase makeup for collector reasons? Definitely not. Same thing with the limited edition. I do not purchase makeup for collector reasons. I think that it's a lot of fun. I think that it's a great way to sell product for any brand to collaborate with a well-beloved franchise. I personally am not usually sucked into that. And again, there aren't any franchises I can think of that would get me so excited I would want to buy the stuff. Because it would also have to be excellent quality and in packaging that I liked. I mean, you could do a Pride and Prejudice collaboration and that would probably pique my interest. But if it was from Makeup Revolution, I'm not gonna buy it. If it were from ColourPop or Udenzai or something like that, I might be more tempted to buy it. So yeah, I mean, I don't buy things because they're collector's items. I do have a couple items that are collector pieces. For example, the Sweet Shop series from BH Cosmetics and Hella from Udenzai is, and Angelica Nyqvist is so many people's favorite. So if I were ever to resell that palette, it would not be difficult. But I love that palette. I bought it because I loved it. I bought it because I wanted to support Angie, but I also love the palette. I love the colors. I love Udenzai. Amazing palette. I have no intention of selling it, but if I did, the fact that it's a collector's item would probably make it quite easy to sell for a higher price than I paid. All right, and the final question is, in your makeup journey, have you become more or less consumeristic? I think you know the answer to that by now. Definitely yes. Again, in my first year, I was buying all the things. In my second year, I'm like, I don't need all those things. I ended up watching myself declutter several things that I'd bought on the spur of the moment or caught up in the frenzy and excitement. And when I watched myself getting rid of them, I just saw money leaving and being wasted. Because even if you sell it for a reasonable price, you're probably not getting everything you paid between the cost, the taxes, and the shipping. So it ends up being, a waste of money on some level. And that was a little embarrassing, honestly. Like, why did I go buy those 4 palettes and then I just didn't use them? So part of that, I have to chalk it up to the journey of discovery, figuring out what I like, what I look good in, what I am naturally drawn to. Again, being on a budget, it has certainly forced me to be more realistic with my collection and more curated and carefully assess new palettes coming in. Like, does this add value? Does this bring something into my collection which doesn't already exist there? So for sure, I have become less consumeristic in my makeup journey. And I think that's a really good thing because all of us should be less consumeristic, especially in a first world country. We spend so much money that doesn't really need to be spent. And when you compare our lives, our existence with people who are not living the way we are, I feel a little bit guilty. I walk into Sam's Club or Costco and I just look around at these towering shelves filled with huge stores of bulk warehoused food. And I'm like, wow, this would be a dream for so many people. And it's just commonplace for us. And I feel like that sort of mindset comes into every industry, everything in our lives, that we have a huge surplus of offerings at our fingertips and we make decent money on the whole, so we can go splurge and spoil ourselves a little and get the things we want. But is it really good for us to always get what we want? It's not. If you are a parent, it is not good to always give your child the thing they're asking for. It's just not healthy. They need to learn what no means. They need to learn to deny themselves a little bit. They need to learn self-control. They need to learn that they're not entitled to everything and they can't have everything they want. And we need to enforce that upon ourselves sometimes, I think, because especially as adults with jobs, we can just go out and get the thing that we want. It's pretty easy. And so I think the budget has been very helpful for me to not be too consumeristic, to reel myself in a bit when I'm feeling a little bit out of control or when I'm being a little bit out of control, and to help change my perspective to just a healthier mindset in general. So there you have it. That is the Beauty Consumerism Tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, check my description box for links to other videos and the questions if you want to do it yourself. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Remember to like and subscribe if you like what you see and you want to see more. And until I see you in my next video, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.